You know that feeling you get when you're standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon or maybe exploring some deep cave and you just feel this sense of awe? Well, that feeling, that curiosity about the Earth itself, it's not new. Not at all. In fact, it's a really ancient human tradition. So today, let's dive in and explore the surprisingly long history of this impulse, what we now call geotourism.
All right, let me kick things off with a question for you. What do you think was the world's very first tourist attraction? Now, hold on. Before your mind jumps to the pyramids or the Colosseum, I want you to think bigger, or you know what, maybe deeper. We're talking about a time when people traveled not just to see the sights, but because they were just deeply curious about the planet itself. So, there's a word for this, and it's geotourism. Now, the term itself is actually pretty new, but the idea behind it, it's ancient. It's really just, like they say, a new word for an old activity. It's the kind of tourism that looks at a beautiful landscape and goes a step further, asking, wait, how did this get here? What's this rock made of? It's all about a journey driven by, well, let's call it geocuriosity.
And if we're going to point to a father of all this, it might just be this guy, Herodotus. We're going way back here, to the 5th century BC. This Greek writer travels all the way to Egypt. But here's the kicker. He wasn't there to conquer anything, he wasn't there to trade. Nope. His whole mission was to study the Nile River Delta and figure out how all that sediment got there. He was traveling purely for geological knowledge. Pretty cool, right?
But here's the thing, Herodotus wasn't some kind of outlier. He wasn't alone in this. He was actually part of a much bigger, ancient tradition of people who were just completely fascinated by the Earth's wonders. And this idea, this curiosity, it was spreading all across the ancient world.
Just take a look at this. This was a super popular tourist spot for ancient Greeks and Romans, the huge toppled statue of Ramesses II. And yeah, people would travel to see it, but they weren't just looking at a broken statue. They were amazed by the sheer scale of it, the kind of stone it was carved from, and even the sediment from the river all around it. It was basically the ancient world's version of going to a national park.
You can see this fascination woven like a thread all the way through history. I mean, after Herodotus, you get guys like Pausanias in the 2nd century AD, writing these incredibly detailed travel guides about the landscapes of Greece. And then there's Pliny the Elder. In 79 AD, this guy literally sailed towards the erupting Mount Vesuvius just to get a better look. He actually died trying, which, kind of makes him the first geotourist martyr, if you think about it.
And this scene right here really captures the massive risks these people took. I mean, this was not a casual vacation. For someone like Pliny, that deep-seated need to see and understand a huge geological event with his own eyes, it was just stronger than his own survival instinct. It was a totally raw, unfiltered quest for knowledge.
So this incredible thirst to understand the Earth, it didn't just stay on the surface. Oh no. Some of the very earliest, most dedicated geotourists, they started looking down, deep into the mysterious world of caves.
Okay, so how do you take a dark, kind of scary hole in the ground and turn it into a must-see destination? Well, with guidebooks and marketing, of course. You had publications like Wonders of the Peak describing these amazing underground worlds in thrilling detail, and they had illustrations like this one of Oki Hole to go with it. It totally sparked the public's imagination.
And, I mean, you can totally see why people were so captivated, right? This engraving of the Grotto of Antiparos, it looks like a scene from another planet. To them, these weren't just rocks, they were like natural cathedrals. They inspired this incredible sense of awe and wonder, pulling people right into the Earth's hidden architecture.
So as more and more people started heading underground, cave tourism wasn't just this one-size-fits-all thing anymore. Over time, it started to evolve and branch out, creating what you could call 3 different styles of exploration.
Basically, you can break these explorers down into 3 main groups. First, you've got the casual visitor, someone just looking for a cool day trip. Then there's the really dedicated traveler, the person on a multi-year quest. And finally, you have the organized groups, all about pursuing the science.
Okay, first up, the casual visitor. Think about places like Wookey Hole in England, or this one here, Beaumont-Soleil in Germany. These were what you'd call show caves. They were super easy to get to, often right off the road, and they were specifically developed for the growing middle class, who wanted, a little taste of adventure without a ton of hassle. They pretty much became the classic roadside attraction.
Then we get to the second type, the dedicated traveler. And honestly, there is no better example of this than Shu Xiake. This is a whole other level of commitment. This 17th century Chinese explorer gave more than 30 years of his life to travel. His journeys, which you can see mapped out here, weren't just random wanderings. They were systematic explorations where he carefully documented the geology of hundreds of caves. This was truly his life's work.
And finally, that brings us to the third strand, organized exploration. This is really the modern evolution of caving. We're talking about groups like the National Speleological Society that hold conventions, they share research, and they go on expeditions with all the right gear. It basically takes what was a personal hobby and turns it into a full-blown, collaborative scientific mission.
So why bother tracing this whole history, right? From ancient Greece all the way to modern caving clubs? Well, it's because it tells us something really fundamental about who we are. This isn't just some niche hobby for a few people. It's a timeless human quest.
You know, geotourism expert Dr. Greg Brick put it perfectly. He said that cave exploration, especially, is the purest form of this kind of travel. Think about it. It's not about looking at a pretty view from far away. It's about a direct, physical, hands-on encounter with the planet. You're literally journeying through the Earth itself. So the next time you find yourself at a national park or you just feel that pull to go explore some natural wonder, just remember, you're part of a really, really long tradition. That same geocuriosity that sent Herodotus to the Nile thousands of years ago, that's the exact same spirit that drives us today. It's just this fundamental human desire to understand and really connect with our world.
It's kind of crazy to think that pretty much every corner of our planet has been mapped and photographed now. But our curiosity, that hasn't gone anywhere. So it really makes you wonder, what's next? What are the geotourists of the future going to seek out? What new frontiers, whether they're here on our world or maybe even beyond, are still left for us to explore?